before we introduce our guest speaker, Liz, just wanted to also introduce Katie Smythe from Federation of Small Businesses, and Katie's a partner on this event today. So Katie, would you just like to say a few words?
Fabulous. Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. Morning, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. I have worked with Liz before in the past on an FSB bootcamp, and she's amazing. So you're in for a treat, and get the pens and papers ready because you're going to be wanting scribbling down, get your phones or whichever device that you use ready also, because she's got brilliant AI stuff coming at you. FSB is a not-for-profit membership organisation, and as a member you have access to 24/7 legal helpline, and on that there's over 1,400 legal documents which are up to date and live. So if there's anything that you should need help with in your business, you can get that directly. It is current, it is live and up to date, not Googled and from somewhere in far Americas. So if you do want any information about joining up, please let me know. I work across Lancashire and Cumbria, and we are hosting the FSB bootcamp in Cumbria in June next year. So hopefully I will see you all there. And that's it from me. I'll pass you over to Paul. I'm so excited for some AI. Whoop, whoop.
That's great. Thanks, Katie. And yeah, as Katie just said, do jot notes down, but we will send a follow-up to this today. So you don't need to write everything down word for word. We will send some content out reminding you of some of the key kind of recommendations so you can follow up on that in the days and weeks to come. So thanks everyone for joining. I'll pass over to Liz now. Liz, over to
you. Brilliant. Thanks, Paul. Thanks so much. And hello to everyone. I'm recognising some faces and some names in the audience, so that's always great to see. If we've not met before, my name's Liz. I am based in Lancashire, but I do a lot of stuff in Cumbria, and it's great to be virtually in the room with you today. As Paul said, we're kind of together for just short on 2 hours. We're going to have a break about halfway through, and then we're going to have a chunk of time for questions at the end as well. So if, as we're going along, you want to use the chat to put any questions in, if I'm going to keep an eye on it. If I think it's relevant to the section that we're covering, I will cover it there and then if it's a quick answer to something. Otherwise, I will cover them at the end. If you can start your question with a capital Q for me, that will really help us, and also Lucy's going to keep an eye on the chat for us as well. So that just helps us make sure that either you're commenting, because I am going to get you sharing ideas and content in the chat, so I don't want your questions to be lost as we go throughout the session. As Paul said, I've got some resources for you that you can access as we get going. And then we've got basically a set of resources that you can download for free, that will each different section I'm going to share with you has a little resource. So I'm going to get you doing a little short activity in session today, but then there's also a follow-up activity if you do want to go further. Don't try and do it all. Cherry pick what is relevant for you, your business and your organization. I am going to share a lot of stuff today. I'm not expecting you to do it all. I don't do it all on a regular basis. So do just think, right, which ones are most relevant for me? Yes, I will share some resources at the end, but what is really good if you are a reflective learner, just to think that's a good idea for me, put that down, write that down, note take it. Like Katie said, if you've got a pen and a piece of paper, that's really useful for us, just so you can get the most out of the session for you. Because yes, the notes will be quite generic, because that will be the information that I've shared on slides today. But also, as you go in thinking about what does this mean to me and my organisation to move me forward. Also, if you're not the only person in the organisation or business, who else do you need to get on board with things? Who else do you need to ask advice on, bring into the conversations? So as we get started, start to think about who else you might need to buddy up with in your group or organisation as well. I'm going to share my screen today. I can still see you as well. So if you do have your camera on, it's great to see you. So thanks, Tom and Mary, for example. I can see you straight away. Yes, I love it. I do get energy from you all in the room. Dave, yes, thank you. It does make the difference. So if you don't mind being on camera, it does also help you get the best out of the session. So let's have a look at some slides, should we? Let's see what we're going to cover for this session today. There we go, beautiful. Right, let me just set up my screen so I can see all of you lovely people as well. There we go, gorgeous. Perfect. Okay, right, so boosting your productivity with AI and digital tools. I'm going to go on a little bit of a journey with you today. So if you've not touched on AI before, that's cool. If you have and you're dabbling, like we're all on different levels at the moment, and you are all very welcome for that as well. So staying laser focused and reduce those sneaky distractions. How can we just be clearer, be more focused in what we're doing? Because there, especially in the digital world, there are so many distractions in what we're doing with our time. It can be just hard to do that, really. So we're going to try that today. We're going to have a look. I've got some tips for you along the way there. Harness AI to save time and reduce repetitive tasks. This is almost like your quick win. So when we start to talk about what could you use AI for, we're going to have a few little thinking sessions, little reflective points around, okay, let's not start with the big complex thing. Let's just start with the quick wins, because sometimes they can be actually the most time saving. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at what's integrated AI with what you already use and what that actually means. And sometimes you might be using a software or a tool that has AI in it, or might be using the AI bit of it, but actually don't know that that's part of it. So we'll have a look at that. That can reduce the overwhelm of thinking, oh my God, I need to learn all this new AI. I need to get a new software. Sometimes it's what you've already got and what you're already paying for. So we're going to look at that as well. Understanding the ethics and data policies without the jargon. One of my businesses, Digi Enable, we're very much about tech training without the jargon. So when I start to use acronyms and things, I'm going to try and explain them. AI, artificial intelligence, every step we go through, I'm going to try and make sure that everyone understands it in plain English as well. Because yes, let's think these tech companies are out to try and kind of be bigger than they am, I think, sometimes. And I think those words that people are using can really just be a bit of a barrier. So let's just break that down. And then hopefully by the end of this session, you'll have a bit more confidence in how to use AI for you the right way that aligns with your values and goals. There will be some situations where you say, do you know what, Liz, I'm not using AI for that. The human needs to be the one that does that. And that's cool too. It's starting to decide when you could use AI for some of these certain processes and when actually a human is just the best option. But there might be assisted elements where we can help the human along the way. So hopefully that's an idea of what we're going to do for the session. It was on the session plan for the notes as well, but hopefully that gives you a little bit more time. So if we haven't met before, my name is Liz. I'm a certified speaking professional, qualified trainer and coach. I love to travel. I have 3 businesses. And not to brag, but it's basically so that you understand I do it all. I'm not outsourcing any of this stuff. I'm not leaving it for a big team of people to do. So all of these things that I'm going to share increase my productivity. Sometimes I use AI tools with it. I'm very selective about what I use and why, but I do it. I do it so that I can do all the other things. I can run 3 businesses. I can volunteer on 5 nonprofit boards, but I also do all my own funnels, comms, leads, and anything else that comes in. That is me. It's not anyone else. So if you feel like that might be you too, hopefully we can connect on that. So sometimes, yes, you might be able to outsource. Another team member might be able to help you on things. But let's think about personal productivity as well along our way together. A lot of the things that I'm going to share with you today, I do myself and enables me to work a 4-day week and a 10-month of the year. So it is possible. You've just got to be selective in what you pick and be focused in what you want to do. So hopefully I can really guide you through that today. So what does the pie mean? We were just talking about the festive foods that are coming up. I know some of you are food producers in the room here as well. What does the pie mean? Well, this represents a thing called the Pareto principle. You might have heard this before, where 80% of what you do, it's actually a lot of faff. All of the actions, all of the productivity only really comes from the 20% of things you do. If you break that down and you think about your working week, what are we doing? most of the time, especially with the Pareto principle concept, 20% is you getting the stuff done, the deliverables, the operations, the aiming at the bigger tasks. The other 80% is procrastinating, distractions, not delegating when you have the option to. If you're the lead in something and you're not using the team at your disposal, that's also zapping your energy, your time, and your focus. And so thinking and re-reviewing what your 20% is, what's important to you, can really help you with this. Rather than jumping feet in first and going, AI is going to solve my problems, it's going to speed up workflows, just rein it back in and zoom out a bit and say, what do we actually want to achieve with this? And that could be realigning with the goals that you set, your business plan, however you conduct yourself in the way to get stuff done. So we're going to focus on that 20% and optimizing that as much as possible. So my first question for you into the chat today for me, I would love you to share with me, what's your top distraction? So grab the chat for me. What is your top distraction? I'm looking for hot topics. I'm looking for what is an annoying thing right now. Emails. Are you Tracy? Lovely to see you. Brilliant. New jobs, interesting. Email. My phone's an email. Emails and social media. Yes, we get property pings distracted. Tom's gone for a nice one. Children, pros and cons of that. Fair play. I love it. Social media, the feeding of, interesting, right? So actually like the putting in the hopper bit, Dave, interesting. Social media, jumping between tasks, David, that's an interesting one. We'll come on to that later. Sometimes that can be really unhelpful for us because we can zap our time and focus that way. Checking Facebook DMs and distracted by reels. Oh, who don't get distracted by videos? If anyone's not seen TikTok, that is a thing that sucks your time in. My distraction, and I'm not allowed to do it at work anymore because I just never get anything done, is Pinterest. That's my favorite platform on social media, especially at this time of year. If you're a crafty, homey type person who loves home inspiration, do not check out that social media platform. Brilliant. Well, thanks for sharing. So that's a helpful task for us to do, because that just reassesses where are we finding our time zaps? What's zapping our time? And are there some things that we can craft around? Yeah, brilliant. So Duncan said, time to focus around children, but responding to emails and teams from various platforms. This like pinging in all the time. So a lot of you have mentioned emails, and I would zoom out and say inboxes now. Emails was the hot thing in 1990s when a lot of us started to have it. If you're old enough for that age, I know some of you might be younger in the room. And social media then became the thing in the sort of the 2000s. And each one comes with it an inbox. And so we're continuously trying to think, how can we be less distracted by that? We've got some tips for you today around that. So great for sharing. So that's the QR code for the link for today. If you want to grab the resources while I run through this list, now's a good opportunity to do that. It will ask you for an email and a password. You can log on. The reason why it's not just slides, it's lots of access to lots of different resources. And I'll mention a few as we go along today, and you can download them as we go, but that's the QR code for that. So just going a little bit step further into the digital distractions, we've got physical distractions as well. So some of you mentioned children. So that is a physical distraction. We can't digitize our children sometimes, although I know they might have messages and things. The space, the desk area, the physical setup. So I've got a very expensive chair with lots of buttons and things because I spend so much time sat at my desk now. I want to make sure I'm in the comfortable right position. Noise, are you in quiet space? Are you in an open plan environment with loads of people around you? Are you in a coffee shop with the coffee machine going really loudly next to you? What are our audio and video settings? Have you, while you're still in this session right now with me, got your emails popping up or your Teams notifications popping up that are then distracting you potentially from what you're focused on? You might also have eye, back strain, anxiety, stress, like you've got other stuff going on. You're thinking, oh yeah, I really want to be in this session, Liz, but I've got like a million other things going on. So I need to offer value so that I hook you in but I know you've got other stuff going on. That's the world that we're living in, and especially with virtual, and especially with us all being in different environments. Shoulder tapping. I call these the can you justs of the world. Liz, can you just ... I used to run a radio station many moons ago now, and I was in a very open plan environment, and I can you just at least every 5 to 12 minutes I have a Liz. Okay, that's great. So how do we manage those, especially if you're in a shared business environment? How do you do that politely? Can you set things in place to make that more manageable? Phone ringing. Some of you mentioned the phone. I know a lot of us don't really necessarily take phone calls anymore. But that is a distraction in itself. Clutter, chores. If you do work from home a lot, like, are you then thinking, oh, I'm going to put a wash load on when I go for a bring, and I'm going to do this? Yeah, we're managing, we're juggling a lot of things. Attention span as well. So I've got you to do an activity within the first 10 minutes of us being together, because I know the attention span wanes at the 8 to 10 minute mark. So I'm going to continuously keep going at you for things to do, because I know your attention span is shorter. Mine is as well. I want to be thinking, what's the next thing, Liz? What's the next thing? And then overwhelm. Sometimes we can be overwhelmed, we can be burnt out. I've been there. And you might be highly functioning overwhelmed, highly functioning burnout. You're still going, but are you doing the things that are getting things done? And that is something that the distractions can really kind of focus on. Digital distractions, a lot of you have mentioned some of these: emails, Slack, WhatsApp. We've got omni-channel going on now. We've got messages from everywhere. How do we get on top of that? Calls, meetings, if you're in forever back-to-back meetings, how can we potentially be more productive using some of these digital tools? Things just like space, blocking space out in your calendar. Sometimes it's a simple thing, but a lot of people that come to me that say, Liz, I'm too busy. I'm like, okay. Have you blocked out your lunch break in your calendar? Oh no, I've not got time for that. Okay. Well, that's tip number one. That's nothing to do with digital, but block out the breaks, because otherwise other people will dip into them. So we've got that to work with as well. Okay, so next question. I want a number in the chat for me. On a scale of 1 to 10, how productive do you feel this week? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain productive versus busy. So busy is like the feel like you're getting stuff done, but you're not ticking off the needle moving activities. That's where we're being productive. We're doing the right things at the right times. We're feeling really optimized. So a scale of 1, Liz, there's loads of room for improvement, to 10, I could not be any more productive, Liz. I'm looking for super user tips. Brilliant. We got loads of numbers in the chat there. Love it. You're all quick off the mark. I love it. Fabulous. And thanks for sharing. And there's no right or wrong answer. It is just where you are right now. This is another tip that I start every masterclass, webinar, session generally in the Productivity Club with this question. It's a great check-in. You can do this yourself any point in the week, any point in the day. There might be a follow-up question that then says, how do I improve this if I need to, if I want to? How do I be more productive? And that's where we're going today is, where are we at right now? How can we tweak it? Because you're probably pretty productive already, or you know that you need to be more productive, but we put this pressure on ourselves. And so we're trying to avoid doing that today, but being strategic in what we're doing with our time. So I want to share this productivity wheel with you. This is one of the resources that you can download off the freebies. This is, if you've ever seen the Wheel of Life, it's segmented into 8 different segments. Where you just answered that question, how productive am I? I'm giving you extra. So I very much, when I speak at conferences, speak around digital productivity and how we use digital and AI and automations to be more productive. Then we break it down into these different sections. So this is your kind of takeaway homework to fill in and rate, just like you have done for the 1 to 10, but rate those different sections. Because what we can do is we can actually pinpoint where our productivity lies and where it might need room for improvement. So I do this every sort of 3 months or so with people. And what we do is we rate each different segment. And then we would say, what are the 3 that you want to focus on for the next few months? And you might think after today, gosh, I really need to improve my time management. We would focus on that section rather than having the word, I want to be more productive. because that doesn't really tell us anything. Yes, Dave, if you grab that QR code, it's all in those resources there. It's one of the downloadables. It's a printable PDF, or you can tap the numbers into the boxes as well. So all the resources I'm sharing here today will be on that QR code. If you missed it, I think someone will be able to pop it into the chat for me as a link to click on. So focus then. We are interrupted every 3 minutes on average. That's the can you just, or the property ping. Then it can take up to 23 minutes to regain focus. So that's where we're at, current state of play. A few years ago, when I shared this sort of stat, it was 16 minutes. It's increased. We've gone up even more than where we were before. So we do have a focus problem, and I want to share with you some solutions for that. So this is Lydia. She is a project manager within a change management team I work with. And she came to me, and she was in a open plan physical office, and they were really struggling with the can you just, the shoulder tapping. And so for them, they wanted to figure out how they could not distract each other, increase their productivity, be more productive. So it was a bit of a quick win, really, because it's one of my favorite tips. And you've probably all heard this before. If you've not, this is your first thing along the way. Thanks, Lucy, who popped that link into the chat. Super. So Lydia had 2 groups of teams, one that was fully online and one that was hybrid. So when they were in the office, they were feeling less motivated and they were kind of distracting each other. So the answer to that was the Pomodoro technique. Now, I love this, and then I've got a tool to share with you along the way with it as well. So Pomodoro was a process that was created by Francis Cirillo in the 1980s, and it's an oldie but a goodie. This is the one that enables me to do a 4-day work week consistently. The idea being, you set a timer for 25 minutes. That's the traditional timings. I'll come on to how you might want to make it your own in a minute. 25-minute block of time, no distractions. So if you can, switch off your emails, switch off your notifications, put your phone on do not disturb or silent. Like, how can we reduce those distractions that you just mentioned and started to share in the chat with me? Then the key bit to this, and I know for those busy people, you say, I'm not going to have a 5-minute break, Liz. I've not got time for a rest time. But this is where it comes into its own, because the research backs it. And it says if you have that break, and if you're on a computer doing that 25-minute trying to step away and relax and get a fresh air and get a coffee, you will come back more focused, more refreshed, more on task. Even if you feel like you're in the zone, it is better to take the break. It might feel counterproductive, but try it, practice it. You haven't used it before. This is the one that I absolutely love. I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't mention this, because this is the one that has changed my life in the past 10 years. So Francis Cirillo would then say, repeat 4 times and then a 15-minute break. So if, let's say, you're having an admin day, you've got a lot of admin, paperwork, planning stuff, digital stuff to get on with, maybe at a computer, that would mean 4 25-minute blocks of time. That might be morning chunk, then have lunch, then have another afternoon chunk. That's generally what I do with my Mondays. I kind of chunk it up. I do all my admin on a Monday, and then I've got ahead for the rest of the week. So digital productivity land, I have an app for pretty much everything. So we're looking for, Tamar, Pomodoro is great. Use it in co-working, but forgot to use it on my own. I'll mention co-working in a second. And that is absolutely what we suggested to Lydia and her team. In physical, they were using a co-working Pomodoro style. So they set the timer for 25 minutes. They all got on with their work. And also then they were not distracting each other because they were all in that focus, no distraction time. And then they started using their breaks as ways of catching up. So great example there as well. For their online teams, they were doing online co-working. So the same thing, they'd have a Teams call, they mute themselves, they minimize their call on the screen, they crack on with things. Someone would set a timer and then they'd come back together to say how they got on. So I do a virtual co-working, I'll mention to you in a second, that is part of the resources. So the tool that I use, that I love, I have been a long way around the houses of testing different tools. On my productivity journey, I probably read every book that says productivity in the title, and like a really clear guesstimate is around about 200 apps that I've tried and tested from the Google App Store. And this one has really come out as the best Pomodoro one. And I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you why it starts to link through to the AI theme as well. Pomodoro timer, you can change the times on it. So for those of you who have focused issues, like maybe you've got ADHD, ADD, bipolar, I work with a load of one-to-one people like that. They like 10-minute chunks of time because that's their segment of focus. I also work with executive assistant groups, and they like 50-minute chunks of time with a 10-minute break. So learn the process and then make it your own. The beauty of RoundPie, which is the tool I use, is it works across all different platforms. You log in once and it will remember where you're up to. But I'm going to use the phrase integration, and I'm going to explain integration a little bit later on. So bear with me with the word for now. But basically, it's two tools talking to each other. And if they already integrate, it means the data is passing from one to the other seamlessly. So for me, for my example here, I use, on the left-hand side, there's loads of tools and apps that RoundPie works with. I have a Todoist, which is my task management app, and that links to the tool. So when I say, right, I want to do my website layout, I want to give it 25 minutes, I can pull that data in from my to-do list task management system. I don't have to go copying and pasting. I don't have to tick one off and tick the other one off. You can see that green tick box on my screen. I can tick that green tick box, and as well as it ticking it off in RoundPie, it will then integrate it. It will pass the data to my secondary app, which would be Todoist in this case. It would tick it off in there. Now, that might seem like a couple of seconds you're saving, but if you think about how many times I do that each and every day, incrementally, those savings of a few seconds will add up. And that's what we're doing here. We're trying to slightly tweak the way we do things to increase our productivity. So for that is integration. I'll come back to that word later because it will make more sense if I use that phrase a little bit later on. So question for you. I want some answers into the chat for me. Which activities could take one Pomodoro of 25 minutes? What do you do on a regular basis or occasionally or weekly or monthly that you think a 25-minute block of time would work really well for? Let's have a look. We've got some good thoughts as well. Debbie's saying I used it when completing my OU degree, but not used it in the workplace. Definitely. Hey, Debbie, if you like it, have a try. Whatever timings you used for that, try for it with others. Right, brilliant. 0 social media post, content creation, one-to-one diagnostic call, brilliant. Reviewing a policy, invoicing, LinkedIn, email, LinkedIn posts are heavy, love it. Like 25 minutes to a really good one. So, you know, and we're always, we cover social media as one of our topics within DigiEnable, and it's better to do one consistent post a week than try and flood the market with loads of posts that you haven't worked on. So 25 minutes for a nice chunk of time on that is great. Brilliant. Emails, filling in paperwork, physically cleaning out some animals. Yes, because it doesn't have to be digital stuff. Absolutely. Pop a timer on your phone. You can use it on the go. It can be in physical environments as well. Absolutely. If you're making things, or you're doing things on a practical basis, you can absolutely use that technique as well. New emails, emails are the hardcore topic of conversation, aren't they? Beautiful. Thanks for sharing those. It's great. So we mentioned the co-working as part of your resource. So this is the same QR code. If you want to grab the QR code now, that is for your resources bundle. We offer and we run for free virtual co-working on a monthly basis. Our next one is actually tomorrow. If you're here with us live, Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We do it once a month. You'll find all the links and details in the resources if you grab that QR code. And if you are interested, the Productivity Club, we've got a monthly membership where we can go into much more detail. You'll also find that on the page as well. Got monthly masterclasses, lots of stuff going on, including weekly accountability. So if you feel you need a little bit more support on this, then all that detail is in there in the chat. Any more on the QR code? We're all good. Super. So one of the big things you have mentioned, I've guessed it, it's a hot topic of conversation, is emails for our productivity. 62% of work days are consumed by manual tasks. A lot of you have mentioned emails as part of that. We're like, yep, I can get it. I understand. Yeah, we're all there. We're all there. So in our AI journey, these are the things that we think are potentially things that we can really start to harness. The manual tasks, the things that we're doing day in, day out. And there are two things I always say that are flags to sort of listen out for. If you ever hear yourself or someone else going, there must be a quicker way to do it than this. It's red flag number one. Or, I just wish I never had to do again. Is there a way to use different ways of doing things? And I'll go into 3 different types now. But is there a way that you can use digital tools, automations and things? I'll go through the things in a second. But is there something that we can look at? Usually the quick wins and potentially the biggest impact ones are the manually day-to-day tasks. These are the 62%. Now, some of you might then say, do you know what? I want to really write a bespoke email for my VIP clients. That's a separate thing. You've got to decide at what point you do the email yourself versus you do an automation. And that's where we're going to go on that journey today. And it is just figuring out what is most relevant for you, what aligns with you, your business, your organizational goals. So I've mentioned the word integrated. I want to delve a little bit deeper into that. You're going to use the umbrella automations. I'm going to do this finger waggy inverted commas thing, because as we go through AI gets lumped into a conversation with the phrases of automations. Automations don't always have artificial intelligence inside them. I want to explain these 3 different ones because at some points you might want AI inside it, but equally, when we talk about AI, you might just be interested in these 3 things because there's a bit of an assumption that AI is going to solve the problem, but sometimes these 3 things that may or may not have AI in them are going to be the answer to your question. So templated, integrated, automated. I'm going to share with you a couple of examples of what each one is. So templated. This is if you've ever found yourself saying, there must be a quicker way of doing it than this. Generally, it's those emails or the pieces of content that you rewrite, copy and paste from somewhere on so regular a basis. So, for example, I do a lot of professional speaking engagements. They want my bio description. They want the description for this session. I regularly have to go to my website, look for the blurb, select copy, then it's got some naff formatting on it that I need to faff around with to get the text out, and then paste it into the email. Has anyone ever done that before? Feeling it? Yeah, we've copied and pasted something from somewhere to send in an email. So there's a couple of steps in that process where we've had to go to the website, find the thing, copy the thing, probably paste it into a Word document to remove the formatting, because when we first pasted it into the email, it's got all this horrible different color in it or a different style of the wrong font. So we paste it into Word or a notepad, we copy it out and we paste it back in as like a kind of just text based detail, but paste into our email so it looks like our native email. We can so speed up that process by using some of these clipboard apps. What does a clipboard app do? A clipboard app enables you to copy that regularly copy and pasted content or the links that you share or the draft email that you always send out when someone questions a particular frequently asked question thing via email or digital comms. You can use some of these work on your phone. Some of them are online. So depending on what resource you want to use it on, you can have an app on your phone that saves all your regularly used text-based content. You can copy and paste it straight away. So I'm speeding up the whole going to the website, opening the web page, go finding the content. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I just go, where's my app? Copy the details, paste it into the email. So what I've done is instead of maybe a 7-step process, I've reduced that to a 3-step process. So it's still manual to some extent, but I'm saving myself from doing the same thing day in, day out by using a tool that will save it for me. You can also use ones on your computer, so desktop, so Mac OS or Windows, where you even can save a shortcut, so like a keyboard shortcut like Control and I, for example, might then just automatically paste a certain chunk of like whatever you wanted to paste, text, links, whatever, from your keyboard shortcut into wherever you need it to be. I use specifically, you'll hear Todoist a lot because it is my kind of everything lives in it. My life is in it. I pay the pro version because I don't want them to go bust. But I use Todoist in the same way, and it synchronizes from my computer to there. If I'm out and about and I have an inquiry come in, I can quickly jump on it. Even though I'm not on my desk, I have all the resources at my disposal because I've done this work. I've templated it. So what sort of things could you template that would speed up the processes, but also make it easier for you? Again, it will be those, it takes so long to do this. Is this manual process something that I could, notice I'm not going to use the word automate now, template? Because there's still elements in that process that are the manual steps, but it's a templated system. Are you able to do separate files as I oversee a number of clients? File, fill in client exhibit directory for each show, event A 10% membership, one per client. So that would just be where do you want your file to live? So that might be a cloud storage if it's an actual document. These are more like text or links, so things that you would copy and paste. That's why that one's called copy paste. But it's about being templated for you. So it might be you've got a cloud-based tool. So like you might have G Cloud, your Google storage app on your device, so you could then share a link through there. If you're getting yourself, it was a long time ago now, like maybe 10 years, but I used to run a session called Running Your Business from Your Smartphone. And it was those sorts of things like, have you got your invoices at your disposal? So some of you mentioned Xero, for example. Is that something that you have on your phone you can do there and then? You don't have to be waiting until you get back to your office or your desk. So what do those templated systems work for you? So as Mary's already starting to think, how could I make that work for me? Right, for me, actually, it's about documents. Okay, well, is there a tool that could template some of those document systems? Again, it might not necessarily be that you want it to be fully automated, but you have that element to do that there. Integrated. So I mentioned that when I shared between my TimePy Pomodoro app and my Todoist task management system. So for this example, this particular integration saves me on average 2 hours a week. So this is a screenshot of my Google Calendar. So I use Google Calendar. I also primarily use Zoom. By adding a plugin and linking my Zoom account to my Google Calendar account, I now have a button that says make it a Zoom meeting. And rather than me having to go to Zoom, log in, create a meeting, put all the details in, save it, copy the link, go back to my calendar, stick the link into the calendar, then invite the client or whoever, put the details in, then save it in the calendar item. I've just got rid of most of that process by connecting the two tools together so that I go create a new meeting, press make it into a Zoom meeting, it pre-populates into that description box, press send. So again, that isn't automated either, but that's using an integration. Some of that might also use AI in it, depending on what tools you want to use. So you might want to pre-populate, say, the wording on something. So you can also do that too. This is also then a screenshot of the Office Outlook version. Also AI summary, absolutely. Like there's so many tools that you've probably got at your disposal. And that's where we go. 36% of, we're only using 36% of the features of any one task. So then automated, my third element on this is Asana, which is the project management tools, my example. So my team work on Asana and I work on Todoist, if you haven't already gathered that. So with this, it's an automation where I say, if this, then that. So if trigger, so it's waiting for you to do something or something to happen, then do something else. So this is starting to be part of artificial intelligence land. In its simplest, I'm saying whenever I add in Todoist tag, called in Todoist, it's a tag. When I add that tag, so it's that little red thing with a hand hovering over it, then create a brand new task item inside my Todoist and call it the same information as that item in Asana. So we're taking all the data and we're sticking it somewhere else. That is traditional word of automation. That was before AI became a hot topic of convo. Automation was there. Automation still gets lumped together with that umbrella of AI. So that there is me going from, basically, again, it saves me at least an hour a week, because I was regularly taking the content, going into my Monday meeting, writing all my tasks in that I needed to do so everyone else could see it and the team. And then I was going and writing exactly the same things in, duplicating my time and my content into the to-do list. And that was like wasting me at least 20 minutes every week. So now it automates by adding one tag, it copies it into my secondary tool. So is there anything where you're thinking, where is data that I'm regularly copying and pasting or sending from A to B that could be automatically set up? So that's the automation that comes into it. I'll show you the back end briefly. For that particular example, I used a tool called Zapier or Zapier. It's free up to a certain number of things per month. At its simplest, it said, when a tag is added to a task in Asana, create a task in Todoist. That was a simple 2-step process to that workflow. We'll use the word workflow. I'll come on to that shortly. But that automated element of it, just do this. That automation saves me on average, let's say 20, 30 minutes a week. So can you see we're starting to add up incremental changes? So what does that mean to you? So question to hand it over to you into the chat again for me. What one thing do you do repeatedly every day or every work day you'd love to automate? Or template, you know, Mary was looking at that template one before. Can people access your can multiple people access your template? That's a little bit dependent on the tool you're using, Heidi. You could just give everyone one login system. So we have certain tools where we use info@Digi enable and a password, and everyone can access that. So there are workarounds, and it does depend on what specific templated tool you're going to go for. It might just be that you've got draft emails that you use inside your email inbox or inside your inboxes. Kind of depends what you're planning to do with it, really. So what's the one thing that you do repeatedly every day or every business day you'd love to automate? I'd love to see some answers in the chats. Fabulous. What we got going on? Loads of people typing. Make coffee. I mean, we can't do miracles. You can get an automated coffee app thing. Like, I know that's a thing. You can time it. I've got Wi-Fi plugs that go some way to doing that. Filing emails, sending time tracking updates to clients. Oh, Natalie, hello. Lovely to see you. I've set up automations that includes Facebook and Instagram messages, as they are a business who don't have the capacity to oversee quote queries and need it streamlined. Beautiful. Yes. So streamlining is what we're all about. That's that phrase we're using to reduce like 10 steps in a process down to maybe just 5. So we're reducing the number of steps in our workflow. Check emails to correct client, produce specific planning statements for certain types of planning applications. You schedule meetings into Outlook and then pull all of the details into our CRM as well. Beautiful. Yeah. So what can we automate? We want to automate surveys during the year. Yes, so you could do that with a time. So it's figuring out what trigger, at what point does it set this thing going, set this workflow going? So we're going to mention a little bit about workflows today, but want to be kind of drawing it out, integrating Zoom into other apps. Oh, Tamara, I'm with you. Like that linking at least 2 hours a week, and that's no exaggeration. Have a scheduling tool where I book in appointments automatically with people. It tells me at the end of every year how many hours it saves me. Great marketing strategy. You know, I'm going to keep paying for them because they're like, you saved 23 days on average last year. Wow. Like, that's a whole holiday. You know what I mean? So yes, it's worth my $16 a month or whatever. Cleaning. I love it. Love it. That's see, I've got a robot vacuum cleaner, so that goes some way to do it. So they're all workarounds. I've got two actually, one for upstairs and downstairs. Yeah, it saves a lot of time, energy, and focus. Brilliant. All right, so we'll give you one last set of activities, and then we will go to a short comfort break. So I mentioned the 36% number. We only use 36% of the features of any software we use or tool or digital resource or whatever. So it's good to think about what have you already got going on. So an element of the tool, so one of my businesses is called Can Connect. I know some of you in the room that uses, and we do a CRM, which is an all-in-one customer relations management system. It does social media, it does everything. The beauty of that is it does everything in one place. And yes, you can buy that tool from other people. But one of the things that we try and really focus on for our clients is getting them to better understand what features they can harness. They're paying for it. They're not using it to the capacity. What is directly relevant for them? And it does take a little bit of time. If you've got a tool and you're only using it day to day and you're not giving that extra time to learn new things, it's worth investing, like, let's say, one Pomodoro per month to look at some of the softwares. Is there anything new? Are there any extra features that I could optimize, I could harness, I don't already use as part of the software that you're maybe paying for that? Oh, thanks, Natalie. I didn't pay her to do that recommendation as well, just saying. Thanks very much. So I want to introduce you to Hina. Hina is a award-winning journalist based in London. She's one of my one-to-one coaching clients on the productivity front, and for her it was the finding time to do stuff, the workflows, the systems she had in place. For her, emails is very important, as you could imagine. So we've got that element there. And we've got, she was basically, a lot of her comms is first thing in the morning. She'll then look at the kind of plan of action for a day, what news articles are relevant, and then she'll focus back onto the task in hand. So she tries to remove some of those distractions. So when we were talking before about distractions, she very much uses Pomodoro to do that. But one of the biggest things for her was reviewing a tech stack. So talking about only knowing 36% or only using 36% of the features on any regular basis, what tech are you using right now that you could look at in more detail, that maybe you haven't looked at in a while, that could be something that is optimal for you? So, for example, Gail's just mentioned in the chat, Zoom meeting summary notes. So that is taking Zoom and going, what features are inside Zoom I could optimize? So Gail's mentioned a couple of things there: note-taking, apps, AI summarizing. That's two features that if you don't regularly look at the extra new features, the new updates of Zoom, you won't necessarily know that's a thing. Now, some are paid for options, some are not. So we do have to do a little bit of homework on that. But by giving yourself a little bit of time to just play around with some of the tools, that will enable you to decide whether or not those extra features need to be used. And so for the AI tools, note takers, Gail's saying this would save about 3 hours per week in writing up meetings. So that's a tool. So is that something you do on a regular basis? Do you already have Zoom? Have we re-reviewed all the actions? There's a couple of ways of noting how we find what the top tools are, especially with the AI things. We're starting to talk about what is already part of our software that's AI. Let's say whenever Teams or Zoom updates itself, it gives you a little box and says, check out the release notes. The release notes are the thing that tells you what the latest updates are. So rather than closing it down and going, yeah, whatever, I need to get onto Zoom, if you actually open that release notes document and maybe save it for later or come back to it in a bit, that tells you all the latest things you need to know without having to go playing around with it. Just that quick skim read of whatever software you've just updated or you've looked at, and it's like, oh, these are these new things. Just by taking a couple of minutes to read that, you've just kept yourself more abreast with the latest features in that particular tool. Yeah, absolutely. Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, they're all doing that sort of thing. But what are the elements that are relevant to you? Brilliant. Heidi's mentioning Trello, very similar to Asana. Now to help us project manage, getting complicated and confusing. Oh no. Oh, well, we can help you with that, Heidi. Give us some more specifics and I'll look at them for the Q&A later on. Mary's saying Otter.ai. Very similar Otter.ai to the inbuilt ones. So again, you start to think, which one's which? So let's go to the digital review tool. So this is a little bit of homework for you. Again, you'll find the resource as a downloadable document that you can type straight into. So this can be something that you take away. 4 key questions for you. What programs are you already using? And on average, what percentage do you think you're using of the features? Like, how much do you know about it? Do you look at all the buttons and go, oh, I've never used that? What do you have access to? And or are you paying for that you aren't using? That's a great one at this time of year. The finance people in the room will agree with me there. It's a great money saver as well. If you're spending something on a tool that, you know, just because we'd had a 14-day free trial and then the money just kept going out because we forgot about it, that can be a great financial review as much as do we actually need that tool? But another thought is, when you signed up to it and you're still not using it, was there a feature that was missing from it then that maybe it now has, and so it's worth reviewing before then you get rid of it? And then 2 questions for you. This aligns with your goals and what you want to do with your business, your streamlining and your tech in just an umbrella thought. What tools do you need to support you in streamlining? That's a need. Like, what is business critical? What do we need to do? What is wasting time and money day in, day out that we need to do something with? What tools do you want to make your life easier? If in an ideal world, some of you mentioned in the chat, like, I really want to automate this, like the coffee thing, the cleaning thing. Is that something that we want or that we need? Is it something that actually in future we really want to work towards? All right, okay, yeah, Gail, yeah. So depending on what meetings, if you're in person, I'd suggest what Mary's suggesting. Otter.ai has a little phone tool that you can record meetings through there as well. So you've kind of answered your own questions in the chat. That's great. Okay, so digital review tool, definitely worth doing. I use Canva. Some of you mentioned graphical packages before. I use a lot of AI inside Canva. So this is one of these tools that Canva's been around for a long time. It's a graphical templated package. So there's lots of beautiful templates. You don't necessarily have to be a graphic designer to use them. You can knock up a social media graphic or a poster pretty quickly on brand quite easily to kind of click and move around. It's quite intuitive. And so with that, Lucy's like, love Canva. Yeah, do you know what? Just using Canva in itself versus like Photoshop has probably saved me like hundreds of hours over the years. So inside Canva, they now have a lot of AI apps. So that list on my screen is the ones that I highly recommend. My favorite is AI Space Image Space Gen, which is like a kind of black, you can see it a couple down on my screenshot there, black little lens image for the icon. Again, this list is in the resources as well in the notes for the session. But these ones are AI apps inside Canva that mean that I don't have to go and create an image somewhere else, generate an image somewhere else, and bring it back in. I can do it all in one space. So, for example, if you do love Canva and you haven't used Canva for a while, look at what features are out there. It does involve a bit of trial and testing, and especially for the AI generative tools, which means it's creating an image from scratch, from your prompts that you're creating, you're typing in. And there's very mixed responses to some of these tools. Some of them are absolute rubbish. Some of them don't understand that as humans, we normally have 5 digits on 2 hands. It likes to give me 3 hands. So I like to use the example of a lady at a laptop with bright pink fingernails. So that's very on brand for the Productivity Club. And yeah, we have 3 to 5 hands at any one time on one keyboard, and it's supposed to come from the same human. and it's just not fit for purpose. So I have done a lot of testing inside the Canva apps. So again, they use the word apps, but what I would understand that to be, now I've shared with you that jargon, it's an integration, because it's normally a third-party tool that's been brought in elsewhere. HeyGen, you might have come across on your travels, is a AI video generator. So I can upload my face, a static head and shoulder shot, maybe like this if I stay still. And then I can use HeyGen as up to a free thing. You get a little bit of a sample testing to do, and then it is a pay for option. But then it will create a artificial version of my face. I can put words into it and it will speak the words just using my still photo. So if you are those sorts of people that hate being on camera, but then really need to do a video for work, that might be something that you want to have a look at. HeyGen is a third-party tool. If you went to HeyGen's website, you could do that directly, but that's an integration, because HeyGen is its own tool separately, but they have enabled you to integrate it via a Canva AI app to link the two together seamlessly. So you can just go into your HeyGen account, link it that first time, and then in future you'll have all your HeyGen AI generated videos inside the Canva app itself. Canva, remember, does do video editing as well, so that's why the video exists in there. So lots of good stuff going on there. So some features aren't on desktop, but yeah, exactly. Magic Video in Canva currently. Yeah, so do you know what? Most of the time, Mary, I just use the browser version because I think that's most accessible for most people. I throw AI archetypes out of meetings unless someone speaks up and owns it. Love it. Yeah, you're like, people sending AI bots to meetings without them actually being there themselves. That's a kind of interesting ethics point in itself. Beautiful. Well, so we are at bang on the hour. Let's have a 5-minute comfort break. And when we come back, we shall move on to more in-depth AI workflows. Brilliant. Thanks very much, everyone. See you in 5 minutes. Enjoy. So we're starting to think about, what does this mean to us? So we started to look about maybe some more personal or team productivity with the things like Pomodoro. We started to look at what our tech stack is, and maybe there's something already there that we have at our fingertips that we're just not utilizing enough, because I really don't want you to get distracted by the shiny new AI tool. That actually, if we looked at what your tech stack was, you've already got tools out there that do similar things. So that's one of the things where we've just, in the chat, we've been having a conversation about some of the meeting summarizers. So there's so many tools out there for that. So for example, if you're already using Zoom, Zoom has a feature inbuilt into it. So then we were saying, right, okay, well, what about the in-person meetings? Right, okay, so Zoom doesn't work so well for that. What we're starting to do there, and this is what I always advise people to do once they're ready to say, what is the next thing that you want to purchase or bring into your company in terms of tech, is this features list. What does that tool need to do? So rather than shopping around, starting, going looking at things, looking at all the options available, creating yourself a little list of what features that tool needs to do for you, because that will better help you understand, if you do your digital review tool, of what you've got right now, what you'd like it to do in future, or what you need it to do in future. And that will be the creation of your features list. So one of the things I did with my, I do like a monthly office hours with my membership. And one of the questions that came up, really good question, she was like, what do you think of this Skylark tool? And it's a productivity, it kind of sells itself as a life management tool. And I was like, well, what do you want to use it for? And that became a whole conversation around, how do you pick what tool is right for you? Now, you might all be kind of locked into a Microsoft 365 system, for example. So you want to probably use a Microsoft tool inside the suite. It's probably already got something that you're wanting it to do. So for some of those automations, if you're on a 365 portal, your Power Automate will be your friend with that. If you're on anything higher or higher than the free version, say business package or above, you will have Power Automate as part of it. Did you know that? Are you using it? Go and have a look. So that's that sort of 36%. that, you know, that we've got going on that we're working with. Beautiful. All right, so let's carry on. I want us to quickly talk about workflows, and then we're going to give you some inspiration around the ethics and stuff. And so any questions, do start them with the queue, and then I'll come to them as we go. So the workflows then is all about systemizing our setup. So you notice I had that like if this then that before, dead basic 2-step workflow. Well, once we get going with more intricate kind of workflows or systems, some people have used the phrase streamline already. We've got quite a bit of streamlining going on. How do we make the most out of it? So there we go. Let's make that there and that bigger. Beautiful. Thank you there. There we go. Fabulous. So CRM automation, so that's customer relations management system. So again, that's one of the tools that we sell. Increases lead conversion rates by 30%. So for some of you that were saying like sending client emails as updates, there was one example like every 3 months send them a review or something. That can be automated based on a trigger. So what is it waiting for? What is it triggering before then it does something? So for that, it's wait 3 months, then whatever the next date is. So I want to introduce you to Chris. Chris is a senior paramedic for the Northwest Ambulance Service, and him and his teams wanted to streamline their workflows. They are very locked down into Microsoft 365, so we really needed to review what tools he was using, but also what tools within the Microsoft 365 environment he had even access to. They have a really secure lockdown system. So we had to play a little bit of a game with that, figure out what he did have access to, what we could make a workflow out of. So that's kind of the type of restrictions you might find yourself under as well. The first place we started, though, once we'd done the digital review tool, is that drawing out your workflow. So here is a little bit more intricate. You don't need to be able to read the text. It's the idea of a trigger at the start, then arrow, then something, then what next? And then we've got 2 splits into things. So then A, then B. If it's not just a 2-step, create this task, then move the data to this task, like that's just a 2-step workflow. Once we start to get really intricate in our workflows, we probably need to draw it out. Now, I still go for the pen and paper because that works easier for me. There are digital systems. So this is a screenshot of one of our automations inside our kind of Connect platform, where you can actually create it digitally and link it to different resources or contacts or clients or tags. What do you then say, right, if this is the one thing I want to automate, starting to break that down into the different stages, it is best to do that out with the workflow. There is a blank version of one of these in the resources section that you've got the link to, but it's not just the stage. You just notice the different subsections, step or stage, yes, but tech involved, people involved, and some of those say no people involved, it's automated, and then it's me. I'm the human at the end of that process because I'm not pressing go on anything before I've got the human involved. People involved, objectives, like what do we want? What's this step in the process going to achieve? What do we need it to do? The problem that it's solving and the actions that you need to kind of maybe review or review within that. So rather than just having the pen and paper and the steps, we're breaking that workflow down into all the different elements that are possible. And that's not, you know, exhaustive list of things either. You could go on and add in extra elements to that. So for this example, this is creating a stepped process, creating an AI agent, if you will. So it's several steps in the AI process. But this bit, this one section, is the only bit of AI, actual artificial intelligence within this automated workflow. And that's what I really want to hammer home to you today, because AI, artificial intelligence, is generally just one step in the multiple steps within your workflow process. So this is where trigger was the date. So this system was continuously checking for the date. It would check my calendar. It would look for any appointments with anyone who's outside of my organization. So anyone who was a guest of not at Digi and Evil. Then it will process details. So for this example, it's using Zapier AI that I mentioned before, and the appointment details. It's looking at someone's email address and name, and then it's creating me some information. So the AI bit in that is going and looking for the person's name, pulling out a bit of blurb about them, who they are, what the job role is, what their information is ahead of the meeting, giving me also a LinkedIn URL. It's giving me then all that data. It's then posting it into a direct message to me. And my chosen example here is Slack, which is a management kind of portal that has a direct message channel. And that's sending it to me. And then I can decide to do anything with that if I choose. So that's me using a workflow, automating a set of tasks. But the only bit in that AI is where it goes and finds some information that isn't just automated, because that will be different each time. Each time I have a meeting, it's giving me a list of who's important, what are their details, what's their LinkedIn info, spitting that out in a message to me. And sometimes it's not accurate either. And so we'll talk about that for our last chunk of content together around ethics and AI in it, because these tools can be wrong. And we need to just be aware of that. So here, my AI does the thing. It sends me all the content in a message privately just to me. I can then, as the human, review the details before the meeting. If I then wanted to forward that on to other people, I've been the human checker and gone, that's not the right link to that person. Good try, but the information is not accurate. So then I will change that as the human and then finish it off. So if it's got data involved, at what point in the process is AI involved in it, and potentially then it not being accurate? All of the other steps in that process are accurate because it's my data that it's using. Once we go off and we use an AI tool, it's got a questionable level of data accuracy in it. The rest of it is accurate data. So once you've drawn out your workflow, what is AI? What is a level of data accuracy going to be? If you're always pulling it from your own internal data, then obviously it's going to be accurate to some level of degree of maybe like 90% or something. We've always got updated emails. So this is a little review for you. How many steps are in your workflow? So if you're starting to think about what workflow you might want to automate, how many steps are in it? Then what software or tool or AI does each step need? So you've got that resource to take away. That can be something there if you want to have a little bit of a think about now. Come back with any questions as we move to the final section of what I've got planned, and then we can go to questions from there. So how many steps are in your workflow? Rather than me just doing the two things, which was a dead easy integration, it didn't need to be an automation necessarily. What are the steps in the workflow? How many are there? And, you can use that digital resource with those different segments to work through it. So I want to share with you the AI ethics element of it. So we're going, right, this is great, Liz, but what about the ethics policies of it? What about the data protection? All of that good stuff. So I want to give you some thoughts around how to find a bit of this out. And then you need to kind of decide for yourself. Every human person is going to want to use AI in a different way. And notice so far, there's only segments of my workflows that have AI in them. And that's because I've actively chosen to do that. I've not left AI to do absolutely everything for me. I've been conscious of what elements in my processes I've allowed AI to do. And then I've had a human element in the process to double check its work. Because 38% of people say the lack of trust in AI content, what it spits out, what it creates, is a barrier to adoption. That's stopping them from fully going into it. So I want to share with you some things today about how I can do that. Not truly knowing where to start is a lack of AI adoption as my, not my desk, 95% of my day. Right, brilliant, Duncan. Yeah, so if you're out and about, how can we use that? How can we just use that automation? How can we use your mobile phone while you're out and about to do certain things? Or are we grouping things together? Are we doing things at different times? That's how we make this work for us. Thinking about the complexities of how your life and your business work, and how can we slot these bits into it? That's a great point of view there. So these guys really loved the workflow, the automation. This is an executive assistance organization. They have a networking group they run in Geneva. I went and spoke to them in March this year, and one of the biggest things for them was ethics. They were working for a variety of size organizations, some of them global, across different time zones and across different languages, and they were sharing a lot of data. And one of their biggest concerns was, yes, they were using AI, but the ethics of it was really important to them. And so I shared these things with you today that they found really helpful. So the biggest thing, if you're starting to use a brand new tool, is please read the terms and conditions and the privacy policy, right? This little thing, this is called Pi. It's an alternative to ChatGPT. It's a little bit more data friendly. And I pretended I wanted to create an account again, and I gave these screenshots, and it gave me the details of how it's all going to work. And I tick the box and I say, this is my name, tick, tick, tick. How many of you actually read the thing? Because reading the thing answers pretty much all of your data protection questions, all of your generative, who owns the thing, all of where does my data go? But we just go click, click, click. I want to get into it and have a play. We miss it. So I would highly recommend, if you're questioning the ethics of a particular tool, go and find its privacy policy. It has to be on the bottom of the website in the About page. It's a legal requirement for any tool or resource pretty much around the world. Go and find the privacy policy, and that will be how it's working. And normally there's also a terms of service. So then it asked me a follow-up question as well, because Pi, similar to ChatGPT and Gemini and Microsoft 365, if you're using the app, you can use voice notes now. So you can speak into it, you can say all your words, it will convert it into text. This secondary screenshot there now is saying, how can the tool use your data, your voice data, two different things. This is quite exciting for me. This was new on me in terms of the data land. Use my data to improve models for everyone. So that's like sharing your data to learn the big brain of that system to learn from. But the second one, use my voice data for emotion recognition and model improvement. Now that I found fascinating, because if I'm having a rant and a rave into my tool, I'm like, rah, 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 just write me a really, crappy email about blah, blah, and say that. Understanding how the responses were within my voice. So understanding that as well. So that was new on me, and that was really interesting. But if you've already signed up for a tool, go and look at the terms and conditions of the privacy policy, because that will answer a lot of your questions there. Also the ethics or the qualitative data of the information that's being spat out. So a lot of them are now doing this. This is a screenshot of ChatGPT. I want to show you two things in here specifically. One, in big letters at the very bottom of the search, so big you miss it, it says ChatGPT can make mistakes. It's its get out clause right there. So you don't trust it 100% all the time with anything. Check important info, see cookies preferences. So it's saying, how am I using my data there? So just a reminder, it's not foolproof. It's not the tool that will answer all your questions 100% accurate all the time. Oh, this one here is me hovering over a little button. So I asked it a question, some statistics relating to how UK view and trust artificial intelligence at the moment. I use ChatGPT to find a relevant quote for the previous section that I was asking for. And I did my homework, and I still went and checked that it was a valid piece of stat and that it would align with what I wanted to share with you. I did start off, however, with ChatGPT. Give me some stats around AI usage in the UK. I was specific with trust factors. It gave me some information, but this button showed me where the information had come from. So it was citing its sources. So if you've ever done a report and you've had to reference where you got the information from, I normally, if I do share where the quotes are from and things like that, I've always got that as a backup. I don't normally share it because people don't really care, but some people are like, where did you get that quote from, Liz? Like, who's it been done? And so I have the link to be able to share You know, I need to verify what I'm saying. So I do try to make sure I do that. And then this one here, so I got that stat from before from the KPMG. So the AI tool was a starter, but then I went on my own journey to do the research via that particular report from April this year. So I think, right, well, it's still reasonably relevant as stat. Clicked on it, read that through, made sure the reference that I wanted to refer back to was directly relevant to what I was sharing, how many numbers of people had taken part in the survey. So I was trying to make it as accurate and relevant as possible so that I could share with you. If we're doing that and you are using stats or quotes from people, always try and double check it's working out. I've found on occasions it suggests a link to somewhere that does not exist. And I'm like, that link doesn't work. That link doesn't work. It's like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. So do check the workings out of these tools, and that will better help you decide if you want to use AI more in your business or organization, because you're like, okay, so we're going to use AI. That's okay to do your workings out, to do your idea generation. And then at that point where we're starting to create information that people are trusting, the human intervention is part of it. We're double checking our facts. We're double checking where we've cited our sources from. Can you see we're speeding up the process still? We're increasing, we're streamlining that workflow, but we're not leaving AI to do everything. And I think that is a big key part in this. Like, we won't get rid of all of the processes. We'll potentially speed them up or automate them and have AI as part of that process. Remember that little pink circle on that one strip that we had before. A mention of the modeling. So this is something that people get a bit confused on. So I want to share this with you. The language learning models, the LLMs, you've heard of those before, they're the things like the ChatGPT and the Microsoft 365 chat. They're the ones that are generating primarily text-based content. As a default, you will probably find, especially if you're on a free version, it is set to model on. What does that mean? Model on means it's learning from whatever you type in. Now, that's great if you want to tell it, where's the best online training company to cover the Cumbria region to do digital skills? If you type that into ChatGPT, it'll be me. Hello. Because I've done the work. I've taught it what I want it to say to anyone else. So there are benefits from using the modeling to your advantage in PR, press, marketing, comms terms. But if we're going to be putting reports in it, sensitive data, anything that's trade secrets, we want to make sure the modeling is off. And that's a big thing that people get confused of. If the modeling is on, it's going to learn from anything you type into that box. There are, on some tools, so I'm using ChatGPT as an example here, have an option called temporary chat. It's where, by default, as normal, you've got your modeling on, but on occasion, you might want to do a quick session or chat with it, the modeling off, where it does not learn from it. So you'll see that screenshot. It says it doesn't save it in your history. No model training. So it's not training the big brain, the model, and it's following custom instructions. So you can say, these are the things I want you to do, and I don't want you to access anything else. I don't want you to save any of this data. So that is an option if you do want to use tools, but you are a little bit worried about the data. You don't want it to learn. You've got that also temporary chat as well. Another angle on things, if you want to do your own thing, and this goes some way to some of the questions over, I don't trust AI just to leave to it. Yeah, so Duncan kind of alluded to that as a little bit as part of his comment in the chat. You can create your own automated system that you tell it what you want it to do, or you want it to learn, or you want it to write with, and you're giving it the parameters of what you want it to do. And you might say, don't go look at the internet for anything. Here's the bank of information for your brain. I just want you to pull from this. So this is a screen. I love ChatGPT. So this is why I've used this, because it's got more features than some of the others do. And it gives you much more features for free. However, this one is a pay for option. You're creating your own bot for this. BOT is in like little robot. And you don't need to read the text necessarily. It's more for the layout. The right-hand side is what ChatGPT is creating. The left-hand side is where I've created the parameters of what I want my bot to do. So some of you mentioned LinkedIn before. This is a bot that I've created. I've given it all my information. I've given it all my collateral, all my marketing, the way that I say things, the style in which I want it to write in, to create a LinkedIn post. And for my LinkedIn audience, I angle it with my productivity keynotes, so similar to this sort of session today. And I'm targeting a certain type of audience. So I'm giving it lots of data. Now, I could choose for it to never look at the internet and just work off all the data that I have. In this situation, I do want it to pull in information from the internet. So I might ask it, based on hot topics of conversation this week in the news around productivity and time management, give me a well-crafted, targeted LinkedIn post with my usual style. And because I'm just saying usual style, because I've created the bot, I've taught it what to do. The investment of this, I would say I probably spent about 2 or 3 hours programming it, telling it all the things I wanted. Here's some examples of LinkedIn posts that have worked really well in the past that are in my human written version. Like, learn from that, take the style, take the vibe, take the words I use, take the fact that it's first person, all of that information, learn from it, and then write me a new one based on this information. So that's where we start to think, how could I craft it more for the way that I want to do it? And that's where it becomes more of a tool for things that you need to use. I've used ChatGPT for that. There are other bot creators out there. And final bit on ethics. I know quite a few people ask about image creation a lot. Yes, ChatGPT does now do image creation for most of the packages. Microsoft 365s does as well. I find this one to be the best one. So this is my favorite image creation tool, primarily because I think it looks more human, and they seem to get the number of fingers, the number of hands pretty right most of the time. But one of the reasons why I really like this tool is it's dead obvious who owns the copyright to the image. And especially if you're image generating, and especially if you are for profit, you'll remember that like copyright version of like for commercial purposes, you might have seen on particular pay for items in terms of graphics before. This one, desgo.com, it's a bit of a random website, but it's a really crafty tool. If you scroll down all the way down to the page, it's got a nice little frequently asked questions. And one of the frequently asked questions, and this is what you can kind of, annotate for any tool. Do I own the resulting outputs? Am I allowed to use the outputs for commercial purposes? So the tool is where you're writing a prompt, it's creating an image. So the image is the output. Yes, each output is unique and you own the rights to use it as you wish, including for commercial purposes in digital or physical format, such as putting on a printed product, as long as you follow the license terms of each AI. So it's the AI tool specifically. So it has different styles that you might have to read into. But as a default, this applies to both the free version and the paid for model. So this is what we're looking for. Once you've decided, yes, this is the tool for me, go look at the frequently asked questions, go look at the policies and say which one is most beneficial. So to finish us up, I would love to pop into the chat. What tools do you use? Do you know their usages and rights policies? Just give me a yes, no. What's like your top 1 tool, the top 3 tools? No, exactly. So that's your homework. Duncan, for you as well, I'm thinking how could you use that more on the go, or how could you just create your own little, they call it sandboxed system, where the sandbox is in your world without it going to the internet. So I think that would be one. ChatGPT and that, brilliant. All right, so that is homework. That is something to look at, to decide if that's right for you. Remembering those steps in the process, which is going to be the human step and which is going to be an AI and automation. Big fan of ChatGPT, says David, particularly whilst driving between meetings, aware of policies. Beautiful. So if you're happy with the policies and you're happy the way that it's using your data, Brilliant. Like, that's okay. It's good to check in, just like we checked in right at the very start, how productive we are. How on top of AI are we as well? Brilliant. Oh, there we go. Charlotte's brought them down. Fabulous. Monday Trello with Sana. Love it. Experimenting with ChatGPT, but no, and suspicious how it's using me. Adrian, good point of view. So, be suspicious how it's using you, check out those policies, because it will tell you, it has to tell you. Sadly, it's like not very clear language most of the time, but sometimes I just ask it, and inside the chat box go, are you using my data and how? Because it has to respond to that. Love CapCut, the license has changed. Interesting, Katie. Yes. So how is it continuously changing, and how are we doing different things with that? Brilliant. All right. So I think it's time for questions. So let me stop sharing my screen. I noticed there's some in the chat straight away from before, so I'll rush back.